Hello everyone, today we're going to try to make the DJI Neo Category 1 compliant. One of the things that the DJI Neo is lacking out of the box is remote ID, and remote ID is required for Category 1 operations in the United States, that is. So we're going to try to add remote ID to the DJI Neo with the DroneTag BS. So to get started, full disclosure, I've already taken this apart once just to plan ahead and look to see where we can install this. But I'm going to show you through all the steps now. Here is the battery. We'll go ahead and pull it out. Underneath the battery, let's take the gimbal cover off. Underneath the battery, you'll see that I already have the screws out. You'll see them laid out here. I didn't bother putting them back in the reassembly because that's self-explanatory in my opinion. So you have these two screws up here, and then underneath a label, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, these 4 are underneath the label. These 2 are not. And then you have 2 more screws here. The longer 2, these 2 are longer, right here. Rather than the rest all appear to be the same, except for these 2. The 2 at the bottom are most certainly longer, and they are these 2 longer ones here. The tag you'll end up taking off looks like this, and you'll also have a serial number tag over here over this particular screw hole, and then you'll also have a sticker underneath the battery pins covering that area, and it covers here. Now, to get these stickers off, I've had great luck with using a heat gun. I personally use the Hercules heat gun from Harbor Freight. It gives you the option of selecting your temperature, and I ended up landing on approximately 200 degrees Fahrenheit. I think it was 190 is what I ended up landing on, lifting the corner of the sticker, applying the heat kind of in this manner. Not enough heat to mess with the plastic or the solder inside, but I believe 190, 200 degrees was about perfect to gently lift this up, apply the heat, and it just kind of peeled right off really nicely without damaging the stickers. So again, once you have these labels off, these stickers, you've got 10 screws total. And then we need to take this panel off here. And best way I found to do that is to kind of really spread this body. Once you have this bottom panel off, and really the boards underneath, it spreads really easily. So kind of giving a bit of a spread, maybe some pressure, and lifting up here, right underneath the gimbal. It just pops out there. Now, you do need to remove that sticker as I talked about earlier, otherwise it'll conflict with these pins for the battery. I do like to grab a bit of a plastic deal here to kind of get in here and pop this out. And it comes loose. Now, be very careful because this is attached. While you've popped it out of the body, it is attached with a ribbon cable. Notice some heat paste, thermal paste perhaps. It is not really a paste, it's more of a little spongy. It is a bit of a paste, but it is applied here, I guess, for heat transfer from the circuit boards to this bit of a metal plate here. I'm not sure what kind of material this is. It may be metallic. but it's definitely there for heat transfer. So you have this area here, here, there, which is stuck to this, there, which stuck, or really the small space here. And you got a bit here, which is on this part of the yellow, and then this chip here has this blob on it. There is this ribbon cable attaching the main part of the drone to this bottom panel. I believe that's for these downward sensors here. And that's by this connector right here. Now, something to note is, and because I've already disassembled this once, there was hot glue covering these antenna pins, this connector here, as well as all these pins here. There was a good amount, just like you could see over these set of pins here. You also have hot glue over these pins. So popping that hot glue off was a bit tricky. Be very careful. You could potentially damage your ribbon cables or something else within the circuit board if you are too forceful. But I am going to go ahead and pop this connector off here. And something round doesn't always work. Be very delicate if you're using metal. Now this one in particular is kind of tricky, so I've got it loose. You can see it's moving around, but there's quite a bit of extra in there that's folded up. So you might have to move it this direction a bit to get it to come out so it doesn't catch on any of these structures here. So this is the bottom plate, downward sensors, ribbon cable going to those, some heat paste. Just set it aside, be careful with it. Oh, I forgot to mention, these screws that I took out are a Torx T3. You may not be able to read that, but a Torx is the 6-pointed star as a size T3. You may have to, if you don't have one, get one. You probably can't see that on camera. But it's the 6-pointed star bit, size T3, or Torx, they call it. Now, underneath here, you have your circuit board, your primary board, where there's 3 screws holding it on. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. And those are actually Phillips. And I'm using a double-aught Phillips for these to get those off. But before we remove those, we do have something else to do. One thing to note, it looks like they're, looking at screw, maybe one here. But to note, there is not a screw under this pad. At first I thought maybe it was a sticker covering a screw, but no, it is not. There is no screw there, so there's only 3 screws holding on. But before we do that, we do have these 3 antenna cables, which will be very helpful in taking off. So I'm going to do that now. Being as gentle as possible to gently pop that up. Go. If you're uncomfortable or not used to taking electronics apart and putting them back together successfully, you may want to take a picture to remind yourself of, well, how did this go together? It's good practice. I will say that I took a picture earlier, and so I remember how these go. taking care to not put pressure on the circuit board itself or to scratch the surface of that circuit board. Red, black, and then white. I have those disconnected. Now, there is another ribbon cable right here, which connects to the top side of the drone. I believe it's this panel here, which you need to pop off as well. And I'm going to use this, though it's probably not the appropriate tool. It does do the job if you're very careful. Just gently lift up, it pops off. Now, let's switch over to Phillips to remove these 3 screws, and that will free the circuit board, the primary board at least. I don't like to get my screws out of place or confused about where they go. So, 1, 2, 3, the board is loose. The way I did this earlier, and the way I suggest, I suppose, is to gently spread. See how floppy that is? Quite floppy. Gently spread that up. Oh, before we take this off, the gimbal is also connected to this board. The connector right here. Let's get that off as well. I'm just using a very, very small flathead here. Just to gently pop that up. There. Okay. That is disconnected. I'm popping this apart. I'm just going to gently lift this up, maybe at an angle, and slip it out of the frame. So here's your board. And right now you can see it's still connected by the motor wires. These motor wires I am not going to desolder. The reason I took the hot glue off of this side was because I was probing these with my multimeter to see are any of them powered of enough voltage for the remote ID module that I want to put on to power it while the battery is only when the battery is on. And I'll explain that in a little bit here. But this is the board, and you have enough slack in these motor wires here that I can kind of stand it up and lay it back like this. So here's your USB-C connector. There's some shielding here. All that thermal paste. I'm going to re-hot glue these connections here just so they're covered. Underneath here you have your gimbal, which you can take your gimbal out. There are 4 screws for that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hopefully you can see that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's 2 down lower there. Those are also that Torx T3 Torx size. Here's a gyroscope under here. I believe this is your GPS module there, which is probably sitting right in here. Maybe I'll get this in view for you, sitting right in here. GPS module, and then there's also, or perhaps this is the GPS module, or maybe that's the GPS module, and this is perhaps like the transmission for to and from remote. So this is fairly well disassembled now. So let's talk about DroneTag BS. DroneTag BS is a very minimalistic, small remote ID option. I've been successful in adding it to a Phantom 4 Pro V1. This is the DroneTag BS Gen 2. Comes with the actual module here, which has 2 antenna connectors and 2 power connectors, which gives you options. On this side, you need both antennas. Here you have a 4-pin connector, which we are not going to use. It comes with this in case you want to use the 4-pin slot. We are not going to be charging a battery or providing a battery for it, so let's get out of the way. We will be using the 3-pin connector, which will plug in right here. This is the Bluetooth antenna wire, which is coated. This is the trash. This is the GNSS antenna wire for your GPS. This is some heat shrink that it came with, that if you wanted to, you had the option to use this heat shrink, slip it in here, make all your connections, apply some heat with a heat gun, and it would shrink. We're not going to use that either. And this lovely 3D printed case that they provided. Now, let's get this out of here. We are going to use this today, and it has 2 screws in the bag, which I fancy will only need 1. So, my plan is to mount this in the case, put the Drone BS in this case, and perhaps mount it somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe in between these 2 foam blocks. Now these 2 foam blocks don't actually rest against the top side of the Neo. They kind of just float there in that gap. There's quite a bit of a gap in there. Plenty of room for this thing. So I'm thinking about just setting it in here and maybe hot gluing it in place so that it doesn't, get rustled around or fly around inside there if you run into something. And then we'll have those antenna stick out this direction. And then there's a couple modules above it, but there's plenty of just open plastic on the sides. So I think it'll have sufficient reception or signal. But we'll see. That's my goal. So, another thing I wanted to point out is I did a lot of testing, a lot of probing with my multimeter here of where can I gather enough power from the drone itself to power this DroneTag BS. This DroneTag BS requires voltage between 3.3 volts and 17 volts. And we would only want it to be powered not just when the battery's in, but when the drone is turned on. And so with trial and error of plugging this in and probing around, these connections only seem to yield about 1 volt DC, 1 volt DC. This didn't seem to do anything at all, though it was a real pain to get to. There's a couple of items under here, which this is all grounded out, but you had, you get your power and your ground, but those are on all the time, not just when the drone is turned on with this switch. So ultimately I found that we can go to ground over here, and we'll double check and test this. And then if you look closely, and I'm going to zoom in on the video here, there are 3 little pads right here. 1, 2, 3, right here in the corner. And maybe that was designed by DJI for some sort of expansion at some point. I tested this pad, nothing. There's a couple of pads on here that I've tested. I tested quite a few. Like there's a little pad right here, there's a little pad right here, this one. I mean, these where the screws mount are ground. I tested this pad, and all that I came up with is you have this one spot here where you have 3 pads, very tiny, and the one on the far left, if it was mounted, so this circuit board would be mounted this way. All right, we're getting caught. Here we go. It's mounted this way. So that pad that is the furthest forward toward the gimbal registers 3.3 volts when there's a battery in it and it is powered on. Let's do some testing real quick just to be sure. So I'll put this in here. Let's slide the battery on. Okay, battery's on. Now I'm going to flip this up like this so I can test. Switch this to voltage DC, 20 volts max. And let's test these 2 terminals. I'm getting a negative 8 volts or so. 7.5, negative 7.5. Let's switch it. Got positive over here on this side. Yep, 7.5 volts. Oh, come on, stay put. 7.5. Yes. This is also a ground. 7.5. So, testing this pad up here. Getting nothing. Testing the rear pad. I get 1 volt if I remember correctly. Oh, there's nothing right now because it's not powered on. Let's power this drone on. This little switch right here is the same as the button on the top of the drone to turn it on. Okay, so again, testing the full voltage. Now, interestingly enough, it goes up to almost 8 volts when you turn the battery on and actually power the aircraft. Nothing in there. Little pad right there. That's got 2 volts, 2.09. This first one has 0.89. The middle one produces nothing, and the far front one, 3.3 volts. That's what I'm going to target. So there's 3 pads there. We're going to target soldering on just that one. Now, that's going to be quite the fun ordeal, but we're going to give it a go. Let's see here. I'm actually going to pause this. Returning now after pausing. So I want to remove this battery to disconnect the turn the drone off. It is quite warm. Obviously, air cooling it does a great job. Now that the drone is powered off, let's get to making our connections. Actually, first thing we need to do is we need to get the DroneTag BS ready. So we're going to use our 2 antenna, the 3D printed case, the DroneTag BS itself, and the 3-wire connector, and maybe the screw. So the 3-wire connector in the instructions for the DroneTag BS require that the red goes to voltage in, the black goes to ground, and the orange is unused. In fact, in their documentation, it says green, but it is unused. So we won't be actually using the orange one here. Now, this only plugs in one way here. And then we need to connect the red to our 3.3 volt pin, which is over here, and our ground to a ground source. Now, I intend to just solder it to one of these 2 pins right here. There are 5 pins here. Pin on the right being number 1 and 2 are ground. 3 is, I'm assuming, informational, and 4 and 5 are positive voltage. So I'm just going to run this one to the ground, one of those 2 pins there, and then I'll run this red one directly to this little pad right there. And hopefully, man, that's going to be tough. Hopefully I can run it to that pad there. Let's see if we can get this to focus and be right there. I'm sure I'll zoom in. On the Phantom 4 Pro V1 Obsidian, Pro V1 in general, there was plenty of places to get, voltage from to power this thing. And unfortunately, that's not the case here, where we have an abundance of space to mount. So let's get the antenna out. This one is the Bluetooth antenna. There. Now I'm going to have to mount this to here before we put it in that case. Now it's printed on the board. It says BT on the left here, and it says G on the right for GPS or GNSS. So I'm just going to line this up and gently press it on. Here. Okay. And then let's get the external GNSS wire antenna out. We'll set that on there. Real gentle like. These connectors are not rated for many connections and reconnections. There. put it in its case. In fact, before we do that, yeah, I think we're good to do that now. Actually, no, I need to take this off. This little orange deal here will block the screw from screwing in. Okay, let's try it now. There we go. Got our 2 antennas sticking out. Let's slip that in. And I'm not going to press the wire connector in there all the way because I want to get it staged for where I want it. Now, I do want to put this in this kind of this orientation here on the drone or in the drone so that these kind of hang out this way. So I'm going to end up hot gluing that in. But before I do that, I want to get my positive 3.3 volt routed. This orange is really going to bug me. It is so in the way. It is so much in the way. Okay. There. So simply, I just need to bring it, since it's stationary with this unit and I'm always going to solder it, I'm going to solder it to this unit. I could probably clip it and be okay, but I want to be cautious about that. But I do want this to approach that pad from this direction, I believe. So I don't know, can I bring this all the way around? Can I bring it under? I'm trying to think of the best method for taking up extra wire, but not also being messy. Being able to reach, and being honestly professional. No, this isn't going to work. Stick you under. And then go around. And then come up to be in place. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I should be able to line that up right in there. Touch that right there on that pad. Get it glued in place. Or glued. Get it soldered in place. This is a tricky part. I don't have the smallest of tips on here. So let's try to tin this pad. I'm going to have to bring it up close to my eyes to really look at it. Yeah, I think I've got that nicely tinned. You can't see it at all, but I've got it tinned, I believe. Before I go any further, let's go ahead and glue this in. The next step's going to be the ground, and I think I can reach that just fine in there. And I got tons of wire, so let's get the hot glue gun out. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, I need to put one of those screws in there. Nope. Not there. Oh. There it is. There it is. Okay. One of these. It's Phillips. Okay. There. It is hot glued in there now. Thought about applying a little to the side of these pads just to keep it in place. I'd hate for it to really get jostled around. See if I can inject a little bit here on the side and just to shore it up. There. Oops. There we go. Should be good. Get rid of that extra glue. Okay, so I glued it in, hot glue, along the side there, on both sides, and also along the front. All right, so I should be able to bring this around the antenna. Well, I had it done there earlier, I guess. Well, let's not go back now. No reason to peel it off. Let's just leave it as extra wire. That shouldn't hurt anything. Be in a way down at the USB-C, but bunching it up in there might be okay. Let's try to get this to stick to this pad now. All right, pad, here we come. Okay, I don't feel super confident about that one. It's attached, but it's not on there good. Okay. So I'm thinking about adding a dab of hot glue just on the side here. To get that wire to just kind of stay put. Okay. Good. Now I don't want it touching that other pad. So let's see. Really don't want it to touch that other pad. So make sure it's over here. There are 3 pads over there. And I want to be sure it's only on, and I'm looking at it real close over here, off camera. Okay. Oh. We ended up with the hot glue getting hot enough to melt. So we need to resurface that pad. The pad's not looking great. Really having a heck of a time with this particular pad. Flux in there. It's causing me issues. Trying to clear this flux off of here. It's been a real pain. Probably over here damaging the board though. Jeez. Oops. Power it on. Make sure we still get 3 volts out of there. Okay. So now that I've got it glued in there, I want to target these 5 pads right here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pads, and these 5 pads are directly correlated with the battery. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What we're going to do is we're going to connect this positive to this side here and the negative to this side here. Now, I did try to get this pad over here to work out, but that turned out to be a dud, and I could not get that to solder there well. So hopefully I don't have it permanently damaged in any way, but that 3 volts there was not going to work out. So we're going to go right into, this is hot glued in pretty well. We're going to go right into this other pad, these pads here. that are directly off the battery. So let's just let's wrap the cord around here like so, and then maybe tuck under. Come on. Let's lift the power, this orange and this ground up. And we'll kind of bring this under here. And let's get it, hold it with some tweezers. And maybe bring it around like this and back up at it. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's see if I can get in there with this, apply some heat. That is hot. The heat is rising on me and causing my hands to get really hot. Come on. Okay, who knows if that actually worked. Look at it real close here. As long as it's not touching any other components, we'll be okay. And I don't think it is. Okay. This one's a dud. This one's not used for anything. Black, though, needs to be routed as well. Okay, and pull that up out of here. And shift these motor wires over. And bring that into place. And let's grab you. Come here. Sorry for the recording. Quit on me temporarily while I'm over here just messing with this, trying to get this to go. Get that ground hooked up right there. I think would be wise. Hopefully without doing anything else to it detrimental. Apply heat to there. Hit one of those wires for the motor. Okay, we're gonna have to do something about that here. Stick out of the way, motor wires. Stick out of the way. Now, you go in here like that. So let's come in at an angle. Normal, right there. Nope, come back down here. Melted the plastic on it too. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to hot glue the wires themselves. Yeah, up to here. I think that'll be wise. Okay. So we're going to give these wires ample hot glue. Yeah. Yeah. We don't need any issues. Yeah, that should, when I hook a battery up, it should power it on. When I hook a battery up, it should power this on. Yeah, I have a green indicator light, and I should be able to add a new device. Yeah, we have a new BS here. Look at that. So, it is powered on from the battery. It's already been registered. Okay. I'll come back and work on that further later. We have a working remote ID on there. This is glued into place. We've got antenna there. That should be out of the way. This is annoying. Don't need the orange one. Go. All right. Now reassembly. I think we are good for reassembly. It would probably be wise in your case, if you're doing these steps, to replace the blue thermal paste. It would probably be wise to do that. I do not have any, so be prepared if you plan on doing these steps. We got the 3 antenna cables up. We got this ribbon cable. The ribbon cable for the gimbal. Move up here. Yep, and then I can just tuck these guys back down. Yep. And it's kind of tricky getting this in place where I need you up out of here. Yep, I'm black and white. Yeah. because we spread this frame apart to drop it in there. Maybe it's got to be aligned with the holes, you know, for the screws. But there's also locator pins, which are really hard to see unless you're looking at it in person or up close. There are locator pins for this to sit down into. And this is not cooperating. Hang on. We are getting some non-cooperation here. Oh. We've got a hot glue problem. What in the world? Oh, we've got a hot glue issue. Okay. So it looks like the hot glue ran down on me and just kind of went this direction. So we're gonna heat it up. And try to get it to get off that button, fall back down. Ended up getting hot glue on the button, and we can't have that. That is not be any good. So we fixed it. Okay. Let's give that another go. So, motor wires. We've got 3 antenna wires. There, and there. Get a gimbal cable. There's lots of slack in it. And also that upper board cable. We got motor wires don't quite want to drop down yet. I'm also spreading the frame a little bit here to get it to drop in. Yep, right in there. Yep, you can do it. Okay, yeah. So position this to where it. Where are we going? Come on. Okay. We got the locator pins back there. Yep, and then we are having a hard time getting this to set in place. Or press in place. Is it really that tight back there? Or what? It's just those wires on top, maybe. This isn't pressing. Button. Yeah. Let's get this locator pin in there. All right, we got issues. What's the issue? Primarily, not enough headroom for these wires. Okay. So these wires have got to move. Button still pressing fine. These wires have got to go. Okay. So let's get this antenna up and out. There we go. Let's run these heats. Okay, flip these back over. A little bit of trial and error here. Yep, let's put the screws back in. That was my extra from the DroneTag. Put the screws back in. Button seems to be working just fine. All right, let's get the rest of this put back together, reassembled. Yep. So RemoteID is going to come on anytime that battery is plugged in, which is fine. Not what I really wanted, but let's get these connectors back on. And these are a real pain. So I'm going to just kind of adjust it in position until you feel it drop into place, and then it's ready to be pressed in. Should be a little gap here. There. I get lined up. Yeah, and I just kind of gently press. There you go. This one, same way. Find where it drops in. Nope, not yet. There we go. Right there. And then just gently press. Make sure it doesn't just wiggle. Yeah, I think it's in. Okay. This red one, now these antenna wires are a whole different story. Get the line up, you can get the seat. There we go. Okay. Now, I think black was first. Let's check the photo. I took a photo, and yeah, black was right here. So let's go ahead and set the white first, just so it's not in the way. Go. Now let's set this black one here. All right, there we go. One of those is probably GPS for the drone. One's probably remote receive and remote transmit and receive. And maybe another one might be ADSB, but we'll see. I think those are all in. So let's test it first. Let's make sure that DroneTag comes back up. I put a battery on. Let's just confirm that before I start hot gluing stuff. Active. Boom. Right away. Wasn't very long. I didn't quickly. Yeah. Let's see. It says unknown. As soon as I plug it in, when it goes active, so we know our drone tag's working. All right. So let's hot glue these connections back up like they were. So this one had a little bit of a drip here and a little bit of a drip right here. Basically holding that down. Remember at the beginning of this video, I had already taken the hot glue loose, removed it, that was already there. I'm just adding it back in. All right, there was some on this here, and go. Just add it right then there. Yeah. Okay, and then there was, these were all covered up. Okay. Just want to feel good about it later, not coming apart on us. Not popping loose or whatever. Feel good, feel good. All right. Now the rear. All right, so this one's really tricky. Just slide it in here at an angle. And then work it. Get it to drop down in there. All right. Thermal place is serious. It's gonna be seriously lacking by the time we're done here. Okay. So we're gonna slip this down in there. Get down in there. Come on, get down there. There, okay. Got it. I dropped it down in there. Now, wiggle it over. Now, set it in place. There we go. Get this in place. Hot glue. Okay. Waiting for that hot glue to solidify. Don't need any hot glue strings floating around. Okay. So, set this back into place. Spreading the body, sticking it in. The body of the drone, y'all. Body of the drone. Maybe not spread it that much. There we go. Put that in place. Okay. So, we know the curb weight of these drones is 135 grams. I believe I added 5, not even that. Oh, this isn't right. Oh, maybe I should add a battery to it to make it Correct. Over here wondering like, what's going on? Why isn't it right? So we're at 138 grams now. We've added 3 grams. 140. We've added 5 grams. So we're doing good. We're good. We got another 100 grams to go. Let's get these screws back in. And then we'll put these, the light went off. That's a bummer. Need to plug it in or something. Oh well. You're gonna have to go without light. This is fine. It's whatever. I'm just putting the screws back in and putting the stickers back on. And I'll show you how those go. First, let's get some screws in. Oh, it didn't seem to go all the way. It didn't stop or nothing. Okay. Don't even know. That didn't go all the way in. There we go. Let's pop that in and get it in place. Notice I never took the gimbal out. I took it out the first time I took this thing apart. But I did not take the gimbal out this time. You don't have to remove the gimbal to do this type of addition. Oh, jeez. Get on there. Torx T3. That was being tricky. Didn't want to get started. Mm-hmm. It's just being a pain to get in. It's not want to line up right or nothing. Just doesn't want to slip in there. There we go. Last small one. Didn't have to take propellers off, nothing. Just the bottom of it. Now it is remote ID compliant. As soon as I registered it, the camera died again, whatever. Or stopped recording, that is. Long screws go in the bottom. Dose. Last screw. Right here. Okay, so now I don't typically store my drones with the battery in them. So this is not a big deal that you plug it in, it becomes active right away. I'm all right with that. I like it. That way it's already maybe, working on getting a GPS signal, and the antennas are up here, so hopefully hopefully it works out well. We'll find out. You can even add a light to this. And you got tons of leeway. Battery. 142 grams. You got 100 grams to play with. You can put a light on here for a 20 gram light, a 10 gram light or something, and be plenty of leeway. So that is how you can make the DJI Neo Category 1 compliant by adding a DroneTag BS Gen 2. Gen 1's about the same thing, it's just it's wherever they're going to ship you. Yeah, that's all for. Thank you.